today in race number 2. Over the page, you've got the young teenager Braden Phillips starting out of position number 11. Eric Edipov starting out of position number 12. Nigel Carl and Rob Wallace starting out of 13 and 14.
We go on board here with the Avis drone cam to follow the field as they make their way around to grid up for the start of this race. Before we go there, though, we'll go down to Kylie King in the pit lane.
Hi guys, had a great little catch up with Rob Wallace, somewhat of a rookie, but he has got the number 51. Yes, the Greg Murphy number that we know so well, and he's actually taken possession of Commodore, a self-confessed big-time fan of Greg Murphy. He's got Murph's original race seat as well, with his name embossed on it, and he says he wriggles into it to see if any of Murph's racing DNA comes out of it. But somewhat of a rookie, but a classic case of a race fan driving around in one of Murph's old race-winning cars. Really wants to retain some of the heritage of the car, and talks about that semi-toll racing livery that he's got on board as well. He's out having fun, not putting the world on fire, but just a great example of some of the characters competing in the touring cars here this weekend.
Yeah, it's a great story, isn't it, KK? He talked to Murph about keeping the number 51, and Murph gave it in the end there. He's going to start rear of the field here today, starting rear of grid with a new clutch. He's concerned about the car stalling, so we'll see how that car goes. The former multi-time championship-winning cars. This is Lance Hughes carrying one of the in-car cameras, the Hamilton Asphalt entry. His teammate to Jack Smith last year when Smith went on to win the BNT NZ Touring Car Series. And this is Rob Wallace, like we said, starting towards the back of the field for this race. This is not a championship round. If you haven't caught our coverage this weekend, they're gearing up for the start of the series in a couple of months' time. I'm sure you saw the giant screen on the right-hand side.
Yeah, just like we can see the smile there. Rob opting to not have a visor on that helmet. And we could see the squint in his eye suggesting that he's smiling. So we've just had word through that they will be sent for one more formation lap, one more warm-up lap. Motorsport New Zealand officials there in race control. They were looking after this start procedure, and they've made that decision to send the field one more time around to tour this Pukekohe Park circuit.
So like we said, no points on the line here today, but when we come back in April next year, it'll be the grand final weekend. April 24 to 26, the ITM Auckland Super Sprint. Lock that one in the diaries. If you haven't been here before, jump on a Virgin Australia flight, head over this way. We love coming to this racetrack. It's very fast, wherever you sit and watch the racing. We go again for a warm-up lap. The grandstand continues to fill with fans as we're just over an hour away from lights going out in race 24 of the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship.
The Avis drone cam has been providing us with some brilliant shots. That one down at turn 1, not something we've seen a lot of so far this weekend. What's happening here with Varney? Looks like he's got an issue of some description, moving very slowly away from the grid on this second formation lap. So we'll see if we can keep an eye on him. Will he turn left and head towards the BNT V8 paddock, or will he continue around into the pit lane? We'll go down to Kylie King and see if she can update us.
Well, guys, what I can update you with is the sun is out, and so is Dick Johnson. You come out to get a few rays. Dick, what an amazing weekend.
It certainly is, and it's always very well attended, so it's absolutely magnificent to actually come over here and just see how people support it.
Yeah, and obviously we're about to see some great fast Kiwis in this category as well.
Yeah, actually this category has sort of been around for a while, and they've sort of certainly taken it to another level, that's for sure, with you know, the way things have got cheap as far as engines go and that, they've and I believe they're coming over to Bathurst, so it'll be interesting to see how that happens.
Well, we see you've recruited a couple of quick Kiwis. How are they feeling ahead of the race?
Yeah, it's been a very eventful weekend so far, so we'll just see how it all pans out, and yeah, we've just got to keep gathering those points.
And did you watch Scotty spin at the time? What went through your mind?
It's not what went through my mind, it's probably what went through my underpants, I think, so.
Thanks for the chat. You're always up for a good chat. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
100% honesty all the time with Dick Johnson, guaranteed. Down the pit lane. He'll watch on with this race as these cars come around to form up, and still, Sean Varney. I wonder if this is not stuck in gear, but maybe a similar issue to what Radicic had. That car had an electronics issue yesterday, which put the car into limp mode, which basically shuts the car down, and like a pit lane speed limiter, effectively, isn't it?
And that's what it looks like there, yeah, either a stuck in gear or a pit lane speed limiter, because if you look at the gap between it and the Vodafone safety car, it's not changing, so they're doing identical lap time. One thing we do know, it is an issue for Varney, and he will make his way slowly around to the pit lane and be out of harm's way. We're not too far away from a race start here.
I think he's going to pull to the left-hand side here, and that's good news because it looks like we'll be able to get the race underway. What a shame. He's not going to get that car to the grid for this one. So we return our attention back to the start-finish line here, and 15 laps ready for the start of the final race, the BNT New Zealand V8s non-championship round.
Can Simon Evans take it to Nick Chester in the drive?
Time to find out. And a standing start this time. We're underway. In number 4 car sort of jerked away at the start. We've got Radicic limping away at the back of the field too. In the Mustang, it's Nick Ross. That's what he did in the first race today. He sweeps across to move up a spot in the Nissan Altima. The usual suspects will lead us through the S's and into turn 4. And that was a Dale ITM entry, almost getting the back of John Midgley at the right-hander.
And Nick Ross was able to clear Lance Hughes on the run through turn 1, but on the approach to turn 1, they made light side-to-side contact with each other.
Hughes around the outside trying to repay the favour. This will be huge if he can do this. Just gets the door slammed in his face and to change the direction at turn number 6. This will let Evans and Chester disappear. While 3rd, 4th and 5th, maybe 6th soon, is on.
And it looked like Hughes decided to back out of that move rather than stay and give himself the inside run at turn 6. He'll be disappointed with that. He should have stayed in there. We've seen that move be executed so many times this weekend. He's done the hard work by staying tough on the outside at turn 5.
One lap in the books. Ross and Hughes go at it. Midgley and the second, the Dale ITM entries. That's Tim Edgell. You just hear the cars under trays scraping along the surface as they go through that very fast right-hander in turn 1.
Midgley using a lot of curb as he went through turn 2, noticeably more than anybody else, and that car was up on 2 wheels for a long, long time. Chester, though, what a blistering lap time on the opening lap of this race. 1:07.3, nearly a full second ahead of Simon Evans, and this battle continues on. So this is Lance Hughes on the inside this time. He's decided to keep the car in there, and he's been able to clear Nick Ross. Great move. That's exactly what I felt he should have done the previous lap.
Are you sure there's no points on this one?
Definitely not.
They were like magnets through turn 5 and 6. And now Ross has got Tim Edgell on the back of him. This allows Lance Hughes to pull a bit of a margin to complete the second lap, whilst Chester and Evans, 6 seconds, Andy Jones, already ahead of these guys.
And Hughes has cleared out on this little battle pack, so that move that he put on Nick Ross then put Ross under pressure from Tim Edgell behind, and those two going side by side through the hairpin has allowed Hughes to just disappear up the road a little bit, gather a bit of breathing room.
Well, it's a chance for Edgell. I don't know if that was a mistake from Ross on the exit of turn number 4. That looks a little too easy for the Dale ITM car. So Nissan Altima drops in behind. Car number 8, and now John Midgley gets his real first crack at running with these guys. And off the track goes Nick Ross. Continues on, he'll have to take the slalom on the old section of the circuit and drop in behind these cars.
So has Nick Ross got a bit of an issue going on in that Ultima? He looked a bit out of sequence as they came through turns 2, 3 and 4. And then when he arrived down at turn 5, it's just out of sorts. So is there an issue with the brake pedal in that car? Replay of the start, pretty even initial jump, but the second phase of the start went in favour of Nick Chester. Paul Radicic, though, he went nowhere. He's had some issues with that car going into what has been termed the limp mode a couple of times this weekend, and it looks like that issue hasn't been resolved. Paul going nowhere.
Now, I tend to agree with you because it's picked itself up now and he's moved up into 7th position. Here's the replay from Lance Hughes.
Lots of wheel spin from the Hughes entry.
And contact as well.
That was the contact I referred to, side to side, leaving a tyre mark on the side of Nick Ross's Nissan, courtesy of Lance Hughes.
They weren't even 50 metres into the race. This was what happened at the top. This was Tim Edgell's first moment in the first of the ITM entries. down into turn number 4, looking for the front-on shot. Like he didn't take John Midgley with him.
Yeah,
similar to what we saw in the previous race.
Looked like the right front hooked itself on the back edge of the curb there at turn 3, and it was just enough to make the rear of the car light. No surprises here, Matt.
No, just
Chester and Evans just duking it out.
Like we saw earlier today. They've done this since practice. They were trading fastest laps from the very first practice session here on Friday morning. Nick Chester racing in the next Team Dynamic car, the respective crews looking on from the pits. It's a great live test session to iron out any bugs before the first round of the series that comes up here in 2 months' time. These guys treating it like it's the grand final weekend already. And you get the feeling when we come back in April, it's going to be like this again.
You could almost guarantee it from what we've seen so far this weekend. Hughes with an issue.
Flat right front tyre.
Yeah.
So he's gone down the escape road, and was this the start of it? So across the top of the curve, this is the move, and did this create the issue?
Absolutely, yep. Without a doubt. When you have a wheel going across another wheel like that, the rim can cut the sidewall. Now this is just a byproduct of that. At this stage here, Lance Hughes is already in trouble, and the reason he decided to not even try and navigate his way through those tyre barriers, wouldn't have had any chance to do it. So great presence of mind from Lance Hughes.
And another great statement for the fact we've got that corner in the middle now as well. Imagine if that happened on the old circuit. Yeah,
correct. Would have been off, and what is a very wet verge here and into the tyre barriers. So reason that safety upgrades are looked at every single circuit, not only here in New Zealand, but all across Australia as well, is to keep our competitor base safe. And really great job there by Lance Hughes. Unfortunate with the contact at turn 4 between Tim Edgell and himself.
So 9 laps to go. They start to lap the slower cars. Hennepin goes a lap down in car 57, while the leaders have 21 seconds. Back to Tim Edgell. Lance Hughes back in the pits. I'll get the tyre change, but he'll go a lap down here in car number 84 after a promising start. And a great 2-lap battle with Nick Ross, who sits in 5th position. John Midgley is ahead now. Flash of the headlights indicating we're coming through before turn number 5.
My read on this, Nolts, is that Simon, in the wet and forget entry, has got more pace in that car. We'll go on board here with Lance Hughes. This is him coming into the pit lane. Remember, he's got that right front flat tyre. So he'll arrive there, trying to go as slow as he can, turns the car, and unfortunately, because the tyre's flat, the slower you go, the less grip you've got, won't turn. Had to find reverse, unfortunately. Where I was going with that point, Nolts, was that the number 4 entry there of Simon Evans, he's got more pace. I feel he's got more pace. He needs to think a bit outside the normal passing opportunities here. You have a look at that car. The Avis drone cam provides us great shots of exactly what I was talking about. The corner speed from Evans is huge. Every time they get to the straight, though, Chester just drives away. So what he can do is, he knows he's fast at this next space. I think the important opportunity here is into the hairpin, but Evans has got to force it. He can't just sit there and wait for it to come to him. Look how much he closes in. And it's right about now he needs to get good drive, which he has, and just commit really hard to making an inside move. Yeah, Chester's blocking, but there's still road there. He's not going to get by. He's not going to make an unforced error.
You can hear the popping and banging of the traction control as they exit the hairpin. Thought this morning that he might have been holding back there for a couple of laps, but he was generally trying to get past him as Hughes tries to get his way back up the field after changing that right front tyre in the Hamilton Asphalt entry, car number 84. He's some 2 laps down in the VE Holden. It'll be repassed here, you'd think, on the exit of the turn 8 Husqvarna hairpin. So lap 9 of 16, working our way to the closing stages of the final race of the BNT New Zealand touring cars. In car with Lance Hughes. He's pretty casual behind the wheel, isn't he?
Yeah, and unfortunately he's a couple of laps down. It looks like Paul Ranasich has got a bit of pace going now in that beautiful Mustang. No such issues like we saw off the start line where it was crawling along very slowly. And he's he's made his way back up to 4th position. So he'll disperse of Lance Hughes very quickly here, and Lance does the right thing, being 2 laps down, getting out of the way, saying, righto, Paul, I'll let you go, see if you can catch Tim Edgell.
If you shut your eyes there, it sounds like the back straight of Talladega.
Wow, a lot of curve there from Radicic. Sorry to bump in on you there, Noel. All 4 wheels over the top of the curve.
It just sounds so cool. He's wringing its neck, capable of 11,000 RPM without any issues at all.
And he mentioned in that interview with Kylie at the top of this race, once it gets over 8,000 RPM, it starts to pull hard.
Yeah.
There's a thought for you.
Crazy. An engine that's really built to run high bank super speedways, running around Pukekohe Park. Oh, there's the replay of the contact and what happened to Hughes. And watch the steering wheel. He heads down the back straight here.
And so why that happens is, as Edgell went past, he's got his car loaded, he's got the steering turned to the right, and the rim on the left front of Edgell's car cuts across the sidewall of Lance Hughes' car, basically like a guillotine or a blade, and says, no more air in that tyre. Lance arrives at turn 5, can't stop the car, can't turn the car, goes down the escape road.
Radicic making the move there on the replay, up into 4th position on John Midgley. This car drops the tail of the field at the start, but really starting to pick off the cars one by one now. The Mitchell Race Extremes prepared car now 30 seconds away from the leading guys, but only a couple of seconds behind Tim Edgell. More replays here coming out of turn number 4 as he zipped on by Lance Hughes in the Holden Commodore. So here he comes, just like that, he's on the tail of Tim Edgell in car number 8. I think this might be as far as he'll get though. 34 seconds, a big task with 5 laps remaining. It's the quickest car on the circuit on the previous lap, but they're away now from the lap time set earlier. Simon Evans set a 1:01.5 on the 4th lap. They've dropped into the 1:02s again. Radicic was in the 1:04s on the previous lap.
And this position change, once it happens, which you would have to imagine will be inevitable, will be for 3rd position on the road. Radicic showing so much pace in that car. It's almost a bit disappointing that he had such a tardy start, which we'd have to assume was an electrical issue, because at the minute his speed is fast enough that potentially we could have seen him being able to hold on to the back of Chester and Evans. Yeah, we haven't seen that all weekend. No.
The left-hander that just screams its way. We've got some more lap traffic ahead here. We've got Clark in the 54. Listen to it. Across the top of the hill. And through to complete another lap. Of course, a change of the guard with this series. Coming up, we're moving to more GT-style car for the future, with the aim more at 2-door American muscle cars, like the Mustang, like the Camaro, which was announced during the off-season. And of course, a new partnership that will align with the Virgin Australia Supercars for next year, a junior development program that will have some of the best Kiwi drivers we've got in the series on a panel. One lucky driver from the series will get a shot at running over in Australia on a test day with the Brad Jones racing team. It was announced earlier today, so good to see the alliance between the 2 countries and the 2 series.
Yeah, we heard from Paul Radicic before, talking about how important it is to be able to nurture young talent in New Zealand, and that's one step in that process. So great to see, great initiative from both sides of the Tasman.
So now we're into the business end of the race, lap 13 of 16. And Evans right on the tail, while Paul Radicic has just got past Tim Edgell, and now 37 seconds away. He might just set about trying to break the lap record now. He's got some clean air for the final few laps here at Pukekohe Park. The final race of the day for the BNT New Zealand touring cars. The final race for the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship here this afternoon. The ITM Auckland Super Sprint. The final sprint race before we head into the Pertec Enduro Cup for season 2019.
Really noticeable the difference between these 2 cars, and I've mentioned the strengths of Simon Evans' car watching the 2 battle. One thing I haven't mentioned is the strength of Nick Chester's car. Looks like it's got so much torque down low, and out of the slow stuff at turn 4 and the hairpin, he's able to just gap Simon Evans. Now, lap traffic's going to come into play here. Is this enough? Is this what Simon needs? Yes, Absolutely. Ah, but Chester says no way, closes the door. Evans. Can I be rude enough to say that he should have stayed in there? That was his opportunity. And it was taken away from him. He backed out of it.
The Dale ITM car took to the escape road, rejoined at a pivotal moment of that manoeuvre down there at the hairpin. Has that cost the race here? That's the biggest margin it's been since the start of the race. 2 laps to go here at Pukekohe. Chester and Evans, like it was in race number 2 earlier today. Here it is again. Down into turn number 6, door slammed shut.
And that's the moment that I was talking about. That was his opportunity. But this bit here, this got awkward, and it always looks easy from the commentary box. It'll look very different from within these cars. Thankfully, all 4 drivers were able to do a good job to make sure that there was no contact there.
These guys further back in the field are outside the top 10 at the moment. Down to 1 second. Paul Radicic is losing touch. Back in the 104s now, like everybody is. As we've got the final lap underway here at Pukekohe Park. It goes back to your statement. 1-1. Oh, moment there for the Dale ITM car on the exit. Almost turning into the concrete wall. Checkered flag is out though, and it'll go to Nick Chester by less than a second at the finish line. With Simon Evans holding back for second by 0.7 of a second. So that moment down at the hairpin cost him the race, one would think, or the shot at getting the lead.
Yeah, we could have been going a couple of corners back. Now, this is a replay of the finish. Nick Chester on the left-hand side of the shot. 54's being lapped, and that was the gap back to Simon Evans. Was a lot closer through the duration of that race, but unfortunately, Simon had nothing for Chester. Replay here of Carl in the Dale ITM entry, just cracking that throttle a little bit too early. Rear of the car steps out. Went from the extreme left to the extreme right. Added about an extra 500 metres to the circuit.
No traction control that time. But Nick Chester picking up the win. Look at the margin. Back to 3rd position in the end. It was only 7/10 between the leading 2. Radicic got to 3rd after dropping down the field at the start. Tim Edgell 4th. John Midgley was 5th, back to Nick Ross, Lathrope, Wallace, Phillips and Darryl Clark all going a lap down inside the top 10. Hennepop went down 2 laps with Nigel Carl and Lance Hughes, who had a cut-down right front tyre aboard the Hamilton Asphalt entry, will be the final finisher of the race in position number 13. The highlights of the final race of the BNT New Zealand touring cars here at Pukekohe Park, where several cars really struggled to get away, including Paul Radicic.
Yeah, no such issues though for Lance Hughes, who we're on board with. Bit of wheel spin to start with, and then some side-to-side contact where he would sign his name down the side of Nick Ross's Altima in the version of a wheel mark.
This was down at turn number 5, so these 2 squared off from that little start line moment they had. But this an Altima against the Holden on the exit through turn number 6. But there'll be big drama when it comes to that number 84 car.
And that was the second attempt we just saw a replay of there. So this is Hughes leading Edgell up the inside at turn 4, and it was that light contact there that cut the right front tyre on Lance Hughes. By the time he arrived at turn 5, there was no air left in that Dunlop, and he would be able to stop the car or turn it.
This was Radicic picking the cars off. This will be the change of position that got him up into 3rd spot, but that's as far as he would go here today. He wouldn't really rattle the top 2 guys because they were some 40 seconds away, but they had to pick their way through the lap traffic. And in the end, it was going to be Nick Chester who scored the win like he started the